This conference will now be recorded.
What is it that we are going to see? I just wanted to know from you, what comes to your mind when you just say cloud, right? Anything that comes to your mind, you can just throw a word. I'll just print it here and we will see, because everything might get related to cloud. So what do you think? What comes to your mind when we talk about cloud?
So online repository.
Okay, repository.
Storage.
What is it?
Storage.
Storage. Okay. Anyone else?
Network resources.
Network resources. Good. Okay. Any other thing that you can think of? Repository, storage, network resources. Anything that comes to your mind. It can be anything, right?
Yeah, SaaS kind of
SaaS.
SQL.
Okay. SaaS products. Okay.
SaaS
There are a lot of
products.
SaaS products. Okay.
Yeah, yes.
So SaaS means software as service.
That's
Okay.
service, yeah.
Okay. 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 Fine. I think it's fine. We'll get started. So with this in background, like you have something, right? Something you know about cloud. Let's go exactly see what is cloud and why we need to move to cloud and what is this AWS cloud trying to do, right? And then this class mostly will be like kind of theoretical, because it's all mostly we'll be talking about examples and analogies, and then we will just see how we'll go about, right? So this is a definition that was taken from Wikipedia or somewhere, okay, which means that it is not that this is only cloud, but this is an official definition of cloud computing. So cloud computing is where a large pool of systems are connected in a private or public network to provide dynamically scalable infrastructure for your application, data, and file storage. So advantages of cloud computing is the cost of computing, application hosting, content storage, and delivery is reduced significantly. Let's take one example, right? Let's take one example and try to break this down and see what happens. Okay, assume that we'll keep this aside for some time. Assume that I am going to do a startup. Okay, I'm going to I'm planning to start a new software company where my company will do something in say data science or something, right? Whatever it is. Okay, so I've decided to form a company called ABC, and I have decided to invest 100 rupees. Just think as 100 rupees. Now, assume that today I have 100 rupees in my hand. Okay, I am planning to start a company. So what are the things that we will do? I need to do. Okay, so the first thing I need to find out a place, that facility, right? I have to find a place where I can host my office, right? This will be my first thing. After I do the facility, what I will do, I will have to take resources. I mean, resources in the sense employees, right? Employees, I have to plan to take employees. While I'm doing this, I will also need to procure hardware and software, correct? Hardware and software. Okay. When I say facility, it is just only the place and rent. Okay, place and rent agreement, lease or whatever it is, right? Okay. Okay, this is one thing that I need to do. Then after I do all these things, I have to make sure my facilities are enriched with all kinds of facilities, say like coffee, right? Coffee, then your lunch, right? Whatever it is, right? Our cafeteria, whatever it is. So all these things that needs to be there. Then apart from this, I will also have some people with physical security. I need some physical security, right? Physical security, like you need a 24/7 security guard who is guarding your company, and in the reception, right, and taking care of some of the other tasks that they need to do, right? If you're having a server room, then you need to do all these things, right? Okay. So where do you think my majority of this 100 rupees will go? Assume that these are all the steps I need to do. I have 100 rupees now. I have decided. So where do you think the most of the rupees will go? Anyone? Any idea?
Security.
Security. Okay, security we will spend money, but the most of the stuff will be gone to hardware and software. So yeah, at least 60% of my amount, or 60 rupees or 40 to 60 rupees will go only in my server procurement and software, right? So see, when I say server procurement and software, it is not just buying the hardware or software. I have to make sure that is provisioned correctly, the network is done correctly. So many things are there. I have to put some security related softwares and all those things, right? So I used to spend, I might end up spending 40 to 60% of my capital into hardware and software, and where I would be spending another 20 to 30 in other stuff. 20 to 30 in another stuff. And I might have another 10 rupees in balance, which I will be using for maintenance, right? Maintenance. So this is what we typically we do whenever we try to start a company. Okay, assume that this is very limited, whatever I'm saying, but on the large scale, this is what they try to do. So whenever we try to do a company, we have two types of expenses that is called capital expenditure, and we call this as capex. And there is another one called operation expenditure. That's called OPEX. Okay, OPEX. So capital expenditure is where that you increase your assets or you do something, it is a capital for you. Even though it's an expense, it's a capital, like all your hardware, software, right? Software, and then your facility, and all this comes under capex. What is this operation expense? This is where your maintenance, regular maintenance, your coffee cup needs to be changed every day, and your coffee machines need to be serviced, right? So you have to pay for operation. So operation expense is always an overhead for any company, and what they try to do every year, they will have some strategy to reduce this operation expense or OPEX, right? So their aim is to reduce this operation expense and try to increase the capital expenditure as much as possible so they can make business. So how they can make money to reduce operation expense? If you would have noticed in your company, if you are like 8 to 12 years you have experience, when you have joined, there may be 10 coffee machines, and today there may be only 2 or 3 at one place, where you need to go to a particular place to pick up a coffee, versus where we had 2 coffee machines in our own workspace wherever we were sitting, right? So all these are nothing but they are trying to reduce your, I'm just giving you an example, that will not be a significant reduction in your operation expense, but that is where they try to do. So why they were spending a lot of money in operation expense? Because we had to have our own software, hardware, and some software engineer or hardware engineer should be there to go and maintain their software, upgrade, patch, and do a lot of things, right? So that is where your cloud came into picture, where cloud is trying to do most of the stuff and trying to reduce all the operation overhead for you, and they will take care of that, and you will only focus on delivering your business. So that is where we have this cloud. Good.
So Chandra, if suppose someone added a new facility like transport, because it's suppose a new organization, transport is not started at the starting, so that will
Correct.
come out from capital
Operation. No, it's from the operation expense. Yeah,
Okay,
because
if they
see, the
enhance.
thing is, yeah, see, something that you need to pay month on month becomes an operation expense, because you need to do that. You need to spend that money to keep your business running. Correct?
Yeah, correct.
So that is operation expense. Whenever you buy something one time, right, that becomes a capital expenditure. Suppose you buy a TV for your house, it's a capital expenditure. But when you pay maintenance every month, that becomes an operation expense, correct? Because you spend
Yeah,
around
yeah,
500 to 1,000 rupees for your house to maintain. Say, for example, you want to pay your maid, or you want to you are paying your electricity bill, right? All these are all operation expense that you have control of. So suppose you are paying 1,000 rupees electricity bill this month, you still have an opportunity to reduce in that. Maybe you can pay 800 by not switching on the AC, right? All those things, right? Suppose the house which doesn't have AC will pay less than what you have, correct? So
yeah,
they're
yeah,
all
correct.
operation expense. So the asset or the machine that we buy, when we buy it, it's a capital expenditure, but we wanted to make it run and work throughout. We have to maintain that, and we have to pay for that. Suppose if you're having a washing machine, 6 months once you need to call the service guy to do some general service, and you pay him 300 to 500 bucks, right? So that becomes an operation expense. If you don't do that, your machine is not going to work the way that it has to work, right? So that is where your operation expense. And people will always try to reduce this operation expense as much as possible, as much as possible. So that is where our companies will uh, come out with a lot of strategies, and they will see how they can reduce this operation expense. If you would have noticed in your company, in your flow earlier, around 6 to 7 years, you might have had 7 conferences room in the same floor. Now all that might have become a workstation, and only 2 will be there, and that too small. And they will say agile conference room, where you just stand, speak, and go, right? So all these terms and things are indirectly or directly trying to reduce this operation expense, right? So that is where uh, companies try to do this, so that with minimum cost, how I can run my business. That is where the motto is. Similarly for us also, right? Like whatever salary that we get, we try to run our family within that, right? As much as possible. So the control, we don't have the control on our salary, which means the salary is like, we know we will get 1,000 rupees, we will get it, but it is up to us to decide whether I have to spend 1,500 or just 500. It is in our control, right? So we can do all those things. So like that, company also has a capex and opex. So when it comes to cloud, right, we will go and see what are the different strategies we have and different things we have, and we will see how this fits into our this model. Then you will know the power of cloud. Okay, just stop me if you have any questions there and there. Okay, so with that said, if you go back and see, cloud computing is your on-demand delivery of your compute power. That means what happens, suppose I want a Linux machine that I want to practice something. What I will be doing, like 10 years before, I would have gone to the shop, got one laptop and CD with the Linux distribution. I came home, I installed it. It took me 4 hours, 5 hours, 6 hours, whatever it is. And then after I install, I'm just going to only learn Linux. So what I will be doing, I will be using my laptop for only 1 hour. Okay, say I am learning from 6 to 7. What are the other 23 hours it's doing? The resources idle. Okay, your computer or your laptop might be having 1 TB of hard disk. You can say I have 1 TB hard disk, I have 8 GB RAM, 12 GB RAM, that this my Intel is there, that is there, graphics card is there. Okay, how much time are you using it, right? So I use my laptop only once 1 hour per day. What is happening to the 23 hours? It is staying idle, but you have paid for them. So that means you have spent 50,000 rupees, but you are making use of this not fully. Okay, but whereas in cloud, it is on demand. I need a Linux virtual machine now. I won't create the virtual machine. I use it for 1 hour. I pay only for 1 hour. Okay, that is the difference between your cloud and your normal this one. So cloud computing is on the on-demand delivery of your compute power, database, storage, application, the other IT resources through a cloud service platform via internet with very important pay-as-you-go pricing. That means if you are using it for 1 hour, you pay only for 1 hour. If you are using it for 2 hours, pay only for 2 hours. You don't have to pay fully. You don't have to worry about like procuring fully and keeping it ideal and using it only once in a while, right? So that means your asset or your capital is not staying idle, right? So you just go and buy whenever you want. With cloud computing, you don't need to make a large upfront investments. So when you go back to our example here of our company, this 80 rupees, right? You don't have to spend this 60 rupees to buy all your hardware and still keep it idle. You don't have to do that. So what you can do, you don't have to spend time in designing how much RAM I need to buy, how much my users will be, what is my application. Even though you did not build the application, you need to come to some conclusion to buy some configuration. But whereas in cloud, you can decide on the fly. Okay, today I have 10 people coming to my site, so I need 1 GB of RAM. Tomorrow I'm going to put a sale. I have 100 people coming, so work out that proportion and get the new machine with a high configuration and pay only for the time that you are using. So that is where you need not do any upfront investment in your hardware and spend a lot of time heavy lifting and managing the hardware. You don't have to have somebody sitting along with the system to see if any issues or if anything goes wrong with hardware, changing the hardware, patching, all those things you don't have to do. Instead, you can provision exactly the right type of size of computing resource you need, okay, and you can go and use that employees for actually coming up with innovation for your product and improving the business. Okay, so you don't have to worry about operating or how to kind of keep that hardware running and up to date, right? That will be taken care by computers. So you can access as many resources as you need almost instantly and only just pay for what you use. Just we saw that, right? So I need a Linux machine now. Go and get machine. It's up to you whether you wanted 1 CPU machine or 64 CPU machine. So if you want a 64 CPU machine, you pay accordingly. So cloud computing provides a simple way to access servers, storage, database, and broad set of applications over internet. That's very, very important. All that you need to access is you just need your basic laptop, good internet connection, and a latest browser. That's more than sufficient. A cloud service platform such as AWS owns and maintains the network connected hardware required and for these application services. So they will maintain everything. You don't have to do. While you provision, you can provision and use what you need via your web application. So you can just use their service and do that. For example, we are using Google Drive, right? I'm using Google Drive to share all my data. So Google Drive is hosted in Google Cloud. Okay. So what is happening? I don't know in which hardware that Google Drive is sitting, how much space is there, how much RAM is there. I'm not least bothered about that. What I do, I just subscribe and pay 465 rupees or 4065 rupees per year. I pay that, I get 1 TB and I just use it. That's it. So I'm just paying only for the capacity that I am buying. So I'm subscribing to that. That's a SaaS product. That's a software as service product. So you get that service. Office 365. Like now, initially, olden days, we used to have a CD where you need to buy a Microsoft Office, you install it, they give you a key and all those things. Now everything is SaaS. So you just pay a subscription fee. Wherever you are paying a subscription fee, it is almost a SaaS product. Okay, Dropbox. I think you would have heard of Dropbox, right? That is also a paid service, right? So you just pay for the subscription and you get this one. Okay, so this is what your cloud computing is. So how to use this? So the cloud makes it possible for you to access your information from anywhere at any time. That's very, very important, right? So if you don't have this kind of thing, what will happen? Wherever the server is located, I have to be in the same office. So everyone have to be in the same place, which is everyone need to be co-located to the same place because you will not have the server there so that it will be fast. But now everything has changed due to this pandemic. We are all working remote, and the power of cloud is you can work from anywhere in remote and you can access those resources from anywhere over the network using standard protocols. That's also very important, right? You need to be able to access through HTTP or HTTPS. Okay, that's why the cloud removes you need to be in the same physical location as the hardware that stores your data. You don't need to be in the office, the server near the server room. You can be anywhere. So small companies can store all their information in cloud, removing the cost of purchasing and storing memory devices. So why we put it as small company is there are large companies who already have invested a lot of millions in their data centers. where they will be leveraging both their existing data center and cloud. Okay. So some of the cloud services offers very easy to enter into the cloud, right? So today we are learning AWS. It's very, you will know in the next class how easy to get started with AWS. No barriers at all for entry. You don't have to go and sign up anything with your put any contract with your AWS, or it's not a long process, nothing. If you just think you want to start switching to cloud, today itself you can start. Large scalability. So there is a very big scope for scaling up your resources whenever you need. Say for example, I have an e-commerce site, and every today I have 2 servers in my home, and I'm running a e-commerce site where I am selling, say, milk packet, right, for example. And say that today every day I used to get 10 people logging into my site and buying the milk. Okay. And based on that, I have my hardware and software, everything set up. So tomorrow is Sunday. I am planning to put a sale for my milk from 10 rupees to 4 rupees. So what I would expect, now 10 people are logging to my system every day average. So I would expect 20 people might join. What I will do, I know when I'm going to put the sale. Before the sale, I will go back to the shop, get additional RAM, put in my system, and keep everything ready. And on the day of the sale, I'm expecting 20 people, at least 100% rise. What will happen if there are 2,000 people coming inside, right? My system will become slow. It will not be able to serve the purpose. It will crash. My business is gone. That means I'm not able to scale my resource as I need or when I need. What cloud will do? Cloud can do this scaling dynamically. It can do this scaling dynamically, and it will kind of make sure your application is up and running always, and you are able to run your business, and then you pay them for the time that you are using their additional capacity. That's all. So that is your scalability. We will see more about scalability, and we have a separate topic on how to do the scalability also, and we will do a hands-on also there. So multi-tenancy and resource sharing. So you don't have to worry about the hardware. It can be sitting in some multi hardware also, and then you can share your resources among others as well. We have a lot of topics going forward. We will see all those things. So these are all just a generic statements where we will prove each and everything when we go down. It's device independent and independent of your hardware. So don't worry about all these services what you get from cloud. You don't have to worry which hardware he is there, whether he is in Intel or he is in AMD. Don't worry about all those things. Those are all headache by the service providers like AWS. Okay. So why everyone rushes to, as we talked about, why everybody is trying to rush to cloud? Very important at the end of the day for the company is always cost reduction, right? Whether you do a great job, you do whatever you want, right? At the end of the day for the organization, they will look at the books and see how much today we saved, right? In terms of operations, in terms of whatever it is, right? So that is what they do. That is why whenever the business is very dull, or you don't get more projects, what they will do? They will start doing some firing some resources who are getting highly paid. So they will save some money for the future, right? That's what they will do, which is not a right strategy, but still that's the only way that they have the option now to do that immediately. So as we saw, capex and operating expense costs, because the resources are only acquired when needed or only paid when they are used. So you can reduce both your capital expenditure and your operation expenditure. Refined usage of your personal means your employees. Using cloud computing frees valuable resources or people, allowing them to focus on delivering value rather than maintaining their hardware and software. You don't have to worry about that. Scalability, cloud computing allows for immediate scaling either up or down. So scale up, there are 4 terms in this. One is scale up, scale down, scale in, scale out. Okay, we will see all those things when we talk about scaling. So just keep this in mind. You have up, down, or in, out. There are 4 terms there. At any time without long-term commitment, you don't have to still do any agreement with AWS. You can do as you like, and you can do that dynamically without human intervention also by writing a lot of conditions and lot of configurations. Okay, so at the end of the day, this is very important. Reduce the cost, increased storage, and flexibility. Okay, so these are the three things that everybody is moving towards cloud, and that is the benefit that you will get after moving to cloud. Okay, so companies that we are working also, they're all doing business. As a businessman, at the end of the day, how much they can reduce any operation expenditure and how they can save some cost. That is what they will look at. Okay, some of the advantages. Any questions so far, guys, before we move?
No.
Okay, fine. So these are all very generic things that we are talking about. And once we get into specifics of AWS, then that is where we will only talk about AWS. So cloud computing advantages: trade capital expenditure for variable expenses, right? So instead of having to invest heavily in your data centers and servers, what you can do, you can only pay whatever you consume, and then you know how much you are consuming, so pay only for that, right? You don't have to give the money and just buy that asset and keep it without using it, right? People used to do that, right? So they used to go out and buy a TV for 3 lakhs and 4 lakhs, and if you see their screen time, they only watch 1 hour per day or maybe 2 hours maximum, right? And if you equate that, right, that means you are wasting your cost. Your money is being like dumped there. That's all, right? So that's what will happen. So very important, as we talked about this scaling, right? So everywhere, if you see, they will talk about the scaling, because that is not feasible by a normal traditional method. By using cloud computing, you can achieve a lower variable cost than you can get on your own, because usage of from hundreds of thousands of customers aggregated in the cloud, providers such as AWS can achieve higher economies of scaling, which translates into lower pay. So when you compare your on-prem, the on-premise, whatever that you have in your data center that you had invested, and if you move that to the cloud, you will see a significant amount that you will save when you're moving to cloud. Very important, stop guessing your capacity, so you don't have to worry about like, okay, tomorrow if my sale is there, I have to plan, okay, now I have 1 GB, I have to make sure I have to have 5 GB. Okay, all this you don't have to plan, you don't have to break your heads and do a lot of calculations, right? So on the fly, you can go and increase your resources. When you make your capacity decision prior to deploying an application, you often end up either sitting on expensive ideal resource or dealing with a limited capacity. Either you will overbuy or underbuy, right? With cloud computing, these problems will go away. You can access as much as or as little as capacity as you need. The ones that we are all going to see, we are simply going to use only 1 CPU and 1 GB of memory. We also have a 1 CPU and a half GB of memory systems also we have, okay? And scale up and down as required with only few minutes notice. Within few minutes or few seconds, you can bring additional resources, and the client or your end user will not even know that you are scaling up. They will have the same feel as the normal application. So increase speed and agility in a cloud computing environment. New IT resources are only a click away, which means that you can reduce the time to make those resources available to your developers from weeks to just minutes. So like around when we were buying hardware, suppose if I want a dev server, okay, I want a new dev server, there's a new project coming in our company. What we will do, we will first raise a request for that, right? That request has to be routed to different teams for approval, from my manager till delivery manager and finance and all those people, right? It will all go for approval. That will take a week. After that, it will go to the procurement team. The procurement team will already have evaluated some pre-selected vendors for their company, and they will place the order with their company. Okay, that company will take another 2 weeks time to bring in the hardware. After it is brought in, the hardware will be given to the security folks, cyber security folks, and other network security folks. They will get that hardware and go and check everything. They will install, they will do everything. Then they will give it back to the engineering team, who will install application specific softwares, and they will harden all your things. They'll put monitoring in place. They will disable the USB. They will disable the CD drive, pen drive, everything they will disable and they will give it to you. And when you get that system and start developing, from the day you ask the system and you get it, it will be around 14 weeks, almost 8 to 14 weeks. It depends on the company. At 14th week only you will get the system. That means 2.5 months it will take for you to get one development server ready. But here it's not like that. You want your server, you get it immediately. Okay, that is the advantage here. That's where we say speed and agility. Okay, your development time will be slower and you can do more projects and you can do more work. You need not wait for procuring the hardware and stuff. Even though even if the approval process are all taking 1 day and everything, still minimum it will at least take 2 weeks for you to get your machine, even today. Okay, stop spending money and running and maintaining your data centers. So you don't have to, if you have your own data center, we will have to kind of spend a lot of money in maintaining that and running that. Focus on your project that differentiate your business, not the infrastructure. Don't worry about the infrastructure. Cloud will focus on those things and it will let your customers focus on, it will allow you to focus on your customers and your product and your business rather than doing all the heavy lifting of maintaining those hardwares and then worrying about power, worrying about natural disasters. You don't have to do all those things. Very important, you can go global in minutes. So you can easily deploy your applications in multiple regions. Say for example, today my current business is in India and I have everything in India. Suddenly I have a new customer base coming up from Japan. I want to set up the application there. So normally again we have to buy everything. Traditionally it will take some time. But whereas in cloud, within weeks you can bring up your application there and the users from Japan will be able to access those applications there from Japan, and you can deploy your resources in Japan region quickly. Okay, so this is what we say, go global in minutes. Okay, so for any cloud provider, right? For any cloud provider, if they are saying that they are a public cloud provider, they have to make sure they satisfy all these 5 rules. One is it should be on demand self-service. Okay, so people should be able to provision, terminate using a UI. UI is user interface. CLI is command line interface without any human interaction. So if I'm asking a machine now, somebody in the call center in Amazon should not sit and create a machine for me. Instead, it has to create automatically through some APIs, through commands. Okay, that should be on demand self, because they don't know, we don't know, right? I don't know when I will go and create a system. I can create a system at 10 a.m., 1 p.m. or 1 a.m. Nobody knows, right? So it should be on demand and self-service. Broad access, network access your services over any network, any device using standard protocols and methods. So you can access AWS using your mobile or tab or your desktop, laptop, wherever you want, right? You can do that over internet, over standard protocols and methods. What that does means, so HTTP and HTTPS are standard protocols. Methods should be like get, put, post, and delete, right? They're all HTTP methods. So those methods only we have to use because they're all standard methods. They are available for everybody. Resource pooling, economies of scale. We have cheap. It should be cheaper. The service should be cheaper. Very important, elasticity, rapid elasticity. You can scale up and scale down automatically in response to system load. So when we actually deep dive into AWS, all the topics, most of the things you would have noticed, all the services will start with elastic E, elastic load balancer, elastic compute cloud, which means just like a rubber band, when you pull, when you need, you can pull, it will stretch. When you don't want, you can release it, it will come to the original state, right? That's what scaling is. So that's why it says rapid elasticity. Then very important, your services, whatever that you have consumed should be measured. So usage should be measured. You pay only for what you consume. So all these 5 things need to be kind of met if you're saying it is a you're a cloud provider. So AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, IBM Cloud, Alibaba Cloud, and all these cloud providers are public cloud providers. They are all public cloud providers, and everybody will be meeting all these 5 criteria. Even if you go back to any cloud, all these things should be there. Otherwise, you cannot say that it is a cloud. Okay. There are different types of clouds that we have. We have public cloud, private cloud, and multi-cloud. Okay. So public cloud is nothing but when you use one public cloud such as AWS, Azure, Google Cloud, Alibaba, IBM, whatever it is, right? You use one public cloud in your deployment, then it is called public cloud. You are using public cloud. Private cloud, you are using an on-premises real cloud. So there are some private cloud providers like VMware and other people. What they will do, they are also cloud provider, but that is not open to public. They are only doing it for your company alone. Okay, so you have a specific cloud which is a private cloud. It is not a public cloud like AWS. Everybody can create an account and get in and do. No, it is a private cloud. So if you buy with them, it is only for you, right? They will come and they will maintain it only for you. But whereas AWS is, we will be sharing our hardware. If I'm creating a Linux machine and Charan is creating a Linux machine, we both might be sharing the same hardware from AWS data center, right? So that is your public cloud, and this is your private cloud. It is just like this, right? Assume that in your street, right? Your street, there is a street and you have your apartment. The street is your AWS public cloud, okay, where everybody can come and go, right? Whereas your private apartment is there, that is private to you. That is a private cloud, only you can use, right? That is this one here. Even though it is a private cloud, still it has to meet all these 5 criteria. Okay, even though it is a private cloud, it has to meet all those 5 criteria. Then multi-cloud. So you can use more than one public cloud in your one deployment, right? So people are now don't want to lock into one vendor. So what they are doing, bigger companies are moving towards multi-cloud. So in one same application, you will be running some workloads in AWS, some workloads in Azure, right? They will do that. And each and all the public clouds have methods and functions or plugins to talk to each other. Okay, so it's seamlessly you can talk to each other also. From AWS, you can talk to Azure. From Azure, you can talk to Google. Okay, you can do, depending upon the resource that you are having, you can talk to each other and you can seamlessly move data across each other also. That is why people are going to multi-cloud. The reason for that is they don't want to kind of get locked into one vendor. Something happens to that vendor, they will lose everything, right? Just like when we had Microsoft Internet Explorer, that was the only browser we had, and everybody had to go and rely only on that. Then after that, only we had a lot of browsers like Firefox, Chrome, and everything came in, right, to break that monopoly. And because of that monopoly itself, that Microsoft fame got down. So it's advantage and disadvantage as well for the company. So just to be to the safe side, people are going for multi-cloud. Hybrid cloud, using public and private clouds in one environment is called a hybrid cloud. So some bigger companies will use both their public cloud and private cloud. They will connect both also and they will use it. So say for example, they may have their production data in the private cloud and all their non-prod data and other things in archiving in the public cloud, right? So these are all different types of cloud. So any questions here, guys, so far?
They're good.
Anyone?
We are good at it.
Yeah. Okay, good. So that's on this different types of cloud. Now, what are the different types of service models that we have, right? So before we actually get into cloud, we need to know what are the things that is there. One is something called on-premise, data center hosting, and then we have cloud. So let's talk about this on-premise. What is on-premise and what is data center hosting? Okay. So on-premise means on-premise. So it is in my premise. So that's called on-premise. So I have all my server rooms, everything in my facility, everything is there. But the thing is, you need to maintain, you need to have somebody to maintain that and all. But there is an advantage and disadvantage to that. Advantage is you have the most flexibility, right? And you can go and change whatever you want. Suppose I want to remove 2 GB RAM and go and add 4 GB RAM. You have the flexibility because it is with you. The hardware is with you. You can open the screws, remove that and go and add a new RAM whenever you want. It's up to you. But again, the cost to that you're going to pay is more, right? So cost to that is you're going to pay more, and it's most IT intensive work also. So somebody need to be there 24/7 maintaining our servers and all those things, right? So That is on the on-premise. So the individual means the company manages all components from data to facilities, provides the most flexibility, but also it is most IT intensive. Then we came data center hosting, where we go and place our equipments in a building managed by somebody vendor. Okay, now say for example, say TCS has a data center. TCS is opening a data center. So what we will do, I as a small company will go and place all my hardware there. So the TCS will make sure that he will be responsible for the 24/7 availability, physical security, cyber security, and everything. But still, my system will be there. Instead of in my home, it will be there. Okay, you pay only for all the facilities that they give you. Okay, and then comes the cloud. Let's take one small analogy so you will clearly understand what is on-prem, what is data center, and what is your cloud. So if you remember our parents or maybe our grandparents, right, when they got married, say assume that it is our grandparents who got married before like 40-50 years, right, what they would have done, they would have arranged their own marriage in their own house or village. So what they will do, suppose the marriage is on August, they would have started the job from February itself, right? Like they would have done everything A to Z, all the things they have to arrange, they have to do everything. So, but there are a lot of manual work was involved. So people, one guy used to go to market, some 5 people go to market, get all the materials needed for the marriage. One guy will go to the cloth shop and get all the cloth, then jewelry and everything they used to do, and they used to cook. They used to do everything themselves, right? But it was taking long time, but still they were able to do. But what is the advantage they have? They have a flexibility. Suppose they have decided a menu that they wanted to give, say, a gulab jamun as the sweet, right? And suddenly in the last minute, the father of the groom or bride is saying, okay, no, we don't want gulab jamun, we want laddu. Okay, they will immediately change it because they are having the full flexibility. Everything is being done by them. That is your on-premise. Everything is being done by them. They have highest flexibility to go and change whatever they want. But again, they would have invested 3 to 4 months to arrange that marriage. That is your on-premise when our grandfathers were getting married. So when it comes to data center hosting, it is the one that we have so many marriage halls that is available. What we are doing, we are paying rent to them for that facility. For one day, we are paying 5,000 rupees, 10,000 rupees, a lakh rupee. And then what's happening? We are not worried about what is there, who will go and get the chairs, who will go and get the tables. We are not worried about that. We simply pay the rent, and that guy who is having the facility, that is a data center or the Kalyana Mandapam, that guy's job is to make sure like everything is available, all facilities, water is available, electricity is given, everything. He will make sure it is available. Still, it is half. So what we do, we take our cook and we still go and kind of do we get some cook and we give them the menu and we do everything, right? And the flexibility is kind of what to say. We don't have much flexibility because I cannot go and change the AC, right, from one room to another room, or fan from one room to another room, because they are all maintained and governed by that guy who is providing the hall. So that is what your data center hosting is. So we go and place our this one there. We have less flexibility, but everything is taken care. Most of the headache is gone. That is on your data center. Let's come to cloud. So now I told you this two analogy. So what analogy you expect me to say for cloud? Anyone? I told you for on-premise how our grandfathers used to arrange their marriage in the house. They have highest flexibility, but it's manually intensive. Still, they did that, and they are having high flexibility, so they can go and change from laddu to gulab jamun or whatever they want. They can change even in the last minute. Okay, I told you that. For data center, I told you it is like the marriage hall where we go pay rent, we go do the marriage, we still take the cook and everybody do and come back. So what will be my analogy for cloud? Can anyone guess?
Maybe data center hosting, because we are giving rent. We are giving for the services which we are availing it, and then
but still I told you, but still I told you, even for data center analogy, what did I tell you? We only give the rent, but still we have to take the cook. We need to do a lot of, at least half the work, right? At least half the work we need to do, because that guy doesn't have all those things. You simply go and pay the rent. he will take care of the facility alone, right? He will take care of like chairs, tables, lighting, fan, water, and all those things alone, right? But still, you will talk to some other cook from outside and you will take him, correct?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
That is what data center was. So our cloud analogy will be, today, the marriages that we do today are the ones that you have already done, right? What we will do now is, we will sit at home, we will call an event manager. There are some events, people who arrange all these things, right? So we call them and say, hey, 10 lakhs is a package, right? I don't know. And we will say these are things they will do. There are a lot of folks, right? Like this, they will come and say, this I will do, this I will do, I will do. You just pay them 10 lakhs or whatever that amount is, right? What they will do, right? They will take care of everything A to Z. And what we will do is, we will only take the bride and groom on that day, do the marriage, finish the lunch or dinner, come back home, right? That's what are we doing that only now, right? We are only doing that now, right?
Yeah, correct.
We don't do this data center thing or on-premise thing like they were used to do, because I have seen now both bride and groom are going to work. After they work at 5 p.m., they are coming to the hall, getting married and go home. Next day they are going to their respective offices for work. That is how it is happening now, and that is what your cloud computing is. What is happening? Everything is taken care of AWS. He will do whatever that you want. You just go and do your job and come back. That's all. So that will be our analogy for our cloud. So on-premise, you have to think of your grandparents' marriage where everything was arranged by themselves. They have their highest flexibility. That is also very important, right? They can go and change whatever they want because everything is in their control. When it was data center hosting, we went and paid the rent for the marriage hall. Half of the burden is gone, but still half is with us, right? But whereas that means my machine is still there, my hardware, my asset is still there in that building, right? But I'm paying the rent for that, and he will take care of power supply and all the other things, right? Whereas our cloud is, everything is taken care of by that event manager. I don't have to bother anything. I just need to go complete my marriage and come back. So I just go and only focus on my applications or my business, do my business and come out. If my business is over, I just shut down. I don't have to go and sell the resources, nothing I have to do, right? I just shut down and come back whenever I want. I don't have to worry about the hardware. That is where your on-premise data center and your cloud comes into picture. So whenever somebody is asking the difference, you go to the interview, they might ask you the difference between data center and cloud, and sometimes on-premise also. Keep this analogy with you. That will help you to recollect what you have to say in the interview. But don't talk about the marriages. Remember that, but this is the idea. Okay. So there are some of the cloud modules we have. So we get infrastructure as service. So when we talk about infrastructure as service, right? So it is a basic for your IT, right? So without hardware, we cannot do anything. And without software, hardware also cannot work. So both has to work hand in hand. So it typically provides access to networking features, computers, virtual or dedicated hardware, and data storage space. Everything it will provide you. They're all providing everything as a service. That means whenever we call it as a service, you pay for that service, right? Say for example, the Swiggy, that the food delivery service that we are using day in day out, right? What we do, we don't go to the shop, we pay them. We know that we are paying extra, but still we pay them, and they come and deliver. They offer the service, right? That's a kind of their delivery as service, right? It's a service like that. So similarly, we have infrastructure as service. Then infrastructure as service gives you the highest level of flexibility and management to control over your IT resource. Even though it is an infrastructure as service and everything they maintain, they give you all the options or all the flexibility for you to go and select the different types of networking, different type of storage. Okay, I need 10 GB. Because I know my applications well. AWS doesn't care which application I'm going to install. He gives you all the options, and it is up to you to architect correctly and choose the right resources for your application and customers. It is more similar to the existing IT resources with which many IT departments and developers are familiar. So it's like normal, looks like on-premise, but basically you are just doing a data center, like where you are paying everything to him, and he will take care, and you just use that service. So infrastructure as service, and we have something called platform as service. So PaaS removes the need for you to manage underlying infrastructure. You don't have to kind of hardware operating system, right? Everything is platform itself is given you as a service. You don't have to buy Windows 2019 or Windows 10 to go and install in your hardware that he is providing, right? You don't have to do all those things. So everything comes as a service. You just pay for that, and allows you to focus on the deployment and management of your application. This helps you to be more efficient, as you don't need to worry about resource procurement, capacity planning, software maintenance, patching, any other undifferentiated heavy lifting. Nothing is involved. You just focus on your application. That is your platform as service. Then we have something called software as service. Software as service is where the service offering, the software itself comes as a service, and you just pay for whatever that you use. Just like our Office 365, Google Drive. There are so many softwares we have, like email services, so many things are there. You can use them. SaaS provides you with complete product that is run and managed by the service provider. Okay, so say for example your Google Drive. So your Google manages all those things, but it will be managed by Google. But still, you will be able to use. You have to pay and get it. Of course, they give you 15 GB free for initially. But if you want to buy 1 TB minimum, you have to pay 465 or something per month. You pay the subscription, you will get that 1 TB allocated to you. So in most cases, people referring to SaaS are referring to end user applications like web-based email, Outlook, Office 365. If you use Office 365 or Outlook 365, then that is also a SaaS product. So why they are calling this Office 365? It is available all 365 days a year. It's completely available whenever you want. With SaaS offering, you don't have to think about how the service is maintained or how the underlying infrastructure is maintained. You simply use their service and pay for whatever the service that you have used. You only think about how you will use that particular software. You don't have to worry about where it is, how it is built, right? We don't do that. Like when you buy a car, right? When you go and buy a car today, each and everybody that who is owning a car doesn't know how many nuts and bolts are there in the car, how it is being fitted, right? We don't know. All that we know is we know how to drive the car. Okay, the car companies are responsible for knowing where each and every bolt and nut is, right? So that is how this works. So we are only worried about how we drive the car and how we make use of it, but rather than we don't sit inside the car and think how that your say your engine is working, how that piston is working. We don't even bother about that because everything is taken care by the car company. They know how to do that, and they know what to do to make the car run, right? All that you need to know is how to drive a car. So it's similarly like that. So what you need to do, you just simply think about how to use this SaaS products, and don't worry about how that SaaS product is created, how that SaaS product is hosted. You don't have to worry about all those things, right? That is where all this around service. Similarly, all the services that we get, right? Any professional service that we get, you don't have to worry how. Just like the one that we are doing training now, right? So the company that you joined is providing a training service for you. You don't worry who is the trainer, how the trainer is preparing, what he is doing, how he is doing. Don't worry about all those things, and you only focus on how much that you can get the training, right? How much you learn from it. That's it. You focus only on that. So if you see, all the services comes under like similar to our SaaS, right? Any questions, guys? So whenever you see this infrastructure as service, platform as service, and software as service, that if you hear this term, somebody is speaking about some cloud. Okay, any questions you guys have? Then we will move to the next one. These are all generic one. What is cloud? We just talked about what is cloud, what are the different parameters for a cloud to have, and what is it that you need to focus upon, and what are the different types of models and services that we have. That's what we saw so far, with little bit of small examples there. Just keep this in mind, and there will be sometimes it depends on the interviewer. They might ask you what is the difference between SaaS product and normal. Can you give me an example? Then you can talk about Microsoft Word that you go outside and buy in a CD, Office and install. That is a old one. When you save a SaaS, it is Office 365. You do a subscription and get the service from there, right? For example. So all these things that you may need to just kind of remember. Any questions, guys, so far?
No, Chandra, it's fine, I think.
Okay. Let's move on.
I
Yeah,
have
go
a
ahead. Yeah, good.
in SaaS, if we are subscribed to any one of the O365 or any one of the document tools, so do you teach here how to manage the license inventory?
Nothing. The
It,
very important advantage of going with SaaS products is you don't have to worry about the licensing softwares.
no,
Okay.
suppose if I purchased O365 SaaS, so if I have enrolled for 100 users, so right after the threshold 100, so will it automatically scale the
No, no, no,
license?
no, 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 no. That again, you need to configure or you need to pay in that model that what if they have. Okay, not all
Okay,
SaaS products will be scalable. It depends on what you are trying to buy. Suppose if you are saying, I got your point. If you are getting it for 100 users for 100 rupees and you are doing, and when there is another 100 user coming in, can I scale the same thing? What you will do normally, you will switch plan, right? You will switch plan from 100 users to 1000 users, and where you will be paying more money, and they will enable it for the 1000 people.
okay.
That is what the scaling means when you talk about SaaS. But when you talk about infrastructure, we can see the machines will grow. Just give me 1 minute. 1 minute. Sorry guys, there was some production issue going on. Okay, so we are fine with all these models. Now let's talk about, see, when we are talking about cloud and AWS is boasting all those things, how they're doing all these things, right? Because they have a global infrastructure which is being used, and with their global infrastructure, the advantages of their global infrastructure is they can give high performance, high availability, security, scalability, and flexibility. These are the 5 parameters that we have because of their global infrastructure. So with global infrastructure, we will see what are the things that they have, and then we will get into the actual AWS stuff, right? So AWS global infrastructure is built for performance. The regions, we'll talk about regions and availability zones in the next next session. So the regions, there are a lot of regions, so that will cover the whole world. So it covers around like 254 countries. So you can choose your own region. You can choose, you have your flexibility, so that the users who are closer to that region will have low latency, low packet loss, and high overall network quality. How this is achieved? Because they have a 100 gigabyte Ethernet fiber network. They have their own private fiber network backbone. Okay, so which is like very fast, right? So it happens very fast. So what will happen if we do it in our ISP, right? So whenever we have our ISP or internet, how that internet works, suppose if I have an application running in US and I'm trying to access my application through internet without all this AWS, how it will happen? I am in Chennai now, so I'm having Airtel as my ISP. So first thing, there will be a lot of hops. Hops means the first jump, the first point from my house, it will go to the Chennai hub. From Chennai hub, it will go to Bombay hub. From Bombay, it may go to Singapore, Indonesia, and it will go travel full world and then go there. By the time it reaches the destination, there may be heavy packet loss, because each and every country has their own speed, own limitations, own rules, right? So it may be fast, it may be slow, we don't know, right? So that is where that happens. But whereas in AWS, what happens? You go to some AWS facility, your connection goes till there only. From their facility to the AWS data center, it goes through their backbone, which is very fast. That is where they say their performance is more. Whatever your application needs, you can spin up quickly resources as you need them, deploying hundreds or even thousands of servers in minutes. That you can do. Availability, AWS delivers high network availability of any cloud provider with 7 times fewer downtime hours than the next largest cloud provider. There is a study made, and they found out that AWS availability is always there. It was very less downtime. Last year we had some downtime, at least that we are aware of. But basically, if you compare other clouds, this is better. Each region is fully isolated and comprised of multiple availability zones. We will see what is region, what are availability zones, which are fully isolated partitions for our infrastructure. To better isolate any issues and achieve high availability, you can partition an application across multiple availability zones, so that you have an application resiliency also. That's your availability. Make sure your application is always available. Okay. And security, this is very important. Security is where it starts with the infrastructure. So custom built for the cloud and designed to meet most stringent security requirements in the world. So it has got all the compliance certifications in the world, like ISO, HIPAA, right, GDPR, and all those things, right? All the certificates in the world it has got, and even it is compliant with PCI DSS compliant. PCI means payment card industry. So you can make secure transactions over credit cards as well. Okay. Then AWS infrastructure is monitored 24/7 to help to ensure your integrity of the data and confidentiality of your data. All data flowing across global network that interconnects your data centers and regions is automatically encrypted at the physical layer before it leaves the secured facility. So all the data that is stored there are encrypted. When we come to encryption, we will talk about 2 types of encryption in flight and encryption at rest, and we will see different types of encryption that AWS provides with examples, right? We will see that also. Okay. And Next one is stability. Global infrastructure enables companies to be extremely flexible, that you can go and decide where you want your resources to be, whether you want to be in US, you want to be in Mumbai, you want to be in closest to your user in Japan, everything that you can decide, and you have a lot of flexibility. So you can easily, instantly scale up or down along with the needs of your business. Based upon your business requirement, you can scale up or scale down your resources. And companies can quickly spin up resources as they need them, deploying hundreds or even thousands of servers in minutes. Then flexibility. The AWS global infrastructure gives you the flexibility of choosing where you wanted your workload to be there, and you can choose from all the regions and availability zones which are available within AWS. So if I want my resources to be in Mumbai, you can choose that and create your resource in Mumbai. Okay, so these are all some of the advantages of your global infrastructure. And very important, there is some shared responsibility. We talked about shared responsibility, right? So these are some of the shared responsibilities we have with the customer, and a customer means we and the vendor AWS. So what all the things in orange are is the responsibility of their vendor like AWS, and the blue ones are our responsibility. So when we talk about orange, the responsibility is all the software, hardware, storage, database, networking, and hardware maintenance, everything is taken care by AWS, while you focus on your customer data, platform, application, giving access to the application, what operating system you want, what type of firewall you want to put your application, client-side data encryptions, server-side data encryptions, network traffic, how you want to protect your traffic, how your network traffic should go, all those things are maintained by us. So we have a kind of shared responsibility between the vendor and the customer or the users who are using the AWS, right? So this is a shared model. So this is how it operates. So we don't worry about the things in orange, and they will take care, and we have to focus only on the blue ones. And AWS will not focus anything on the blue one, because they don't know your application, they don't know your business, they don't know your customers. So you only know like what you need to do, right? So that is where this one comes up. Okay, so this is what the basic fundamentals of cloud that we have. Just an overall, I've just given you just a tip in the iceberg. It's not the only thing that is there, but these are all the things that you need to know. It's more than sufficient if you go and sit for your exam or for your interview. This is more than sufficient. If you still want to read more, there are documentations in AWS official documentations, and you can go through them, and you can also please go through more in details like what we talked about, right? Okay. Any questions that you guys have so far? So are you guys able to follow?
Yeah, yes, we can.
Okay. So what we will do, we will stop here for today, and tomorrow we will be starting on the zones and availability zones and regions. And tomorrow we will also create a free tier account. Okay, free tier account with AWS. So what we need to create a free tier account, all that we need is a laptop, internet, browser, and we also need a credit card or a debit card, which is Visa, Master, American Express, or Discovery. Any of these 4 cards, if you have, we will create a free tier account, so we can do all our hands-on. When we create a free tier account, they will charge you 2 rupees, just 2 rupees, and they will return back the 2 rupees after 5 days. This is just to make sure that we are valid user. We are not some algorithms or some bots, right? They don't want to. They were just validating that. Okay. So tomorrow we will create our free tier account, and we will start doing our hands-on. Any questions you guys have, you can bring it up. It's open for questions now. And these are all the email IDs I've given access to. Please make sure your email ID is there. If it is not there, please ping in our WhatsApp group. I can add you. So what I will be doing, I will upload this deck and the recording after it is processed in 1 or 1.5 hours, and then I will make sure you get those recordings. Any questions? Do you think I'm going fast? I'm going slow? You're able to understand? You're not able to understand? Please let me know so that I can kind of adjust my pace accordingly. because going forward, like we will have lot of things to cover. It was just theory today, so you might be a little bit bored, but from tomorrow onwards, you will start working, actual work, right?
Yeah, Chandra. Yeah, thanks.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I hope like everybody's IDs are there. Shruti, Kabir, Senthil, Rajesh, Hari, Bashir, Abhinav, Charan, Gopi, and Revati. If anybody says is left out, please let me know. Okay. All right. Any other questions that you guys have? Also, please. Yeah. Go on.
Actually, in the last introduction, previous class, you just explained about Linux, where you'll cover the basics. So, do we require the intermediate level of knowledge on Linux, or how? Can you just let me know?
So basically, when I told that we will talk about Linux, I will only be talking about the commands that we will be working for that particular topic. Okay, we will not be covering full Linux. Okay, full Linux. We will not be covering full Linux. But if you have some Linux experience, that will be great, because most of the production applications are running in Linux in our organization. Okay, so it is always better to kind of have that.
Okay.
But we will be seeing only those commands which will require for us to complete the topic, because when you see Linux itself is as a separate course, right? So that itself is a separate course.
Do you have any documents regarding Linux learning?
I don't have, because I'm not taking Linux. Okay, so I don't have any document, but there are a lot of sites and references I can give you, which you can take a look. But we are going to see some basic commands which you will be quite often using in your organization daily.
Okay, thank you, Chandra.
And I will also expose you to some help commands how you can find out. So you can also go and find out directly from the official Linux itself. You don't have to rely upon Google for everything.
Okay.
All right. Yeah. Right. Anything else from anyone before we close? So I hope you guys are able to follow. And tomorrow, please have this. So we will create that account in live, so that you don't run into any issue. I already have an account, so someone has to share your screen, and I will walk you through to how to create the account. Okay. And again, please don't worry, your card will not be automatically detected for any amount. Okay, as per Indian recent rule, no cards can be having a standing instruction. Okay, so AWS or any cloud provider cannot detect any money directly. You only have to go and pay if needed. But since we have a free tier, we will see what are the things that we will get in free. So when I say free, don't put the word free into your mind for everything, because only certain things are free. Okay, any other questions, guys? Anything you have?
No,
Okay.
Chandra.
So thanks for all your time, and I hope we will make this learning journey a very exciting one. And just I told you, as in my introduction, whoever has not joined, our course will be 100% hands-on. All the topics that we see, we will work live, and we will record that and share it to you, and you guys can download it and watch offline whenever you have any queries. Okay. Okay. All right, guys. Anything else before we close this? And if you have any doubt, please don't hesitate. Ping me in WhatsApp or call me. You have my number in the WhatsApp. Please call me, and I will try to answer all your queries. If it is weekdays, please expect me. I may be in some calls or somewhere. You may expect some delay. If it is a weekend, I'll try to call you immediately. Okay.
Thank you, Chandra.
Okay.
Yeah, thanks, Chandra.
Thank you.
Thank you, Chandra.